So a very warm welcome evening to you. My name is Peter Sobe, one of your news presenter in Sobeboy TV. So today I am being privileged to meet one of my greatest friends, and maybe I'll just give him a chance to introduce himself and I'll tell us what he has prepared for us today. Because remember very well, in Sobeboy TV we normally teach people on the things concerning agriculture and other things that are educative to them. So good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Subi.
So tell us your name. Remind the viewer your name. And
Okay, my name is Michael Ndolo, as I mentioned earlier, a biology specialist and also a beneficiary, also advantage to benefit or to major on the agriculture part, which is also as interlinked with them. So today I think I can give you a brief summary. Today we'll just talk about the botanical part now. So we talk about botany, we talk about just plants, and we talk about plants specifically. We are going to talk about agroforestry and also forestry, and also we are going to see the nursery and how we can make sure we monitor this thing, we nurture them from the monitoring. And this one is a very, very large and a very exploited place, which I think we can recall to the Nobel laureate winner, which is the Wangari Maathai, who did a very wonderful job. But currently we have climate change, and which is bringing something like global warming across the world because of the few trees that are around, So we have here with this one moderated us and make sure and motivated us to make sure we come out with a very nice plantation that you can see. And I think I'll take you through how we can do a simple way, and this one is the cheapest way, because planting of trees and making this thing grow, people are just ignorant, but it's the cheapest way because it does not need a lot of money. You can start even with the 10 trees or the 10 bags and everything is okay. I think that is the brief part. I think I will start off unless you have more questions that can proceed on.
so yeah, I believe he has really he has given us an introduction part of what he has prepared for us today. Remember, he has talked about the winner of the Nobel, that is Wangari Maathai, who died, and we want to salute you for that, because wherever you are, you really made us proud. And also we saw the wife of the President of the Republic of Kenya, that is none other than Rachel Ruto, who was seen planting trees. And this is one of the things that we encourage people to do out there, because right now we are under the crisis of global warming, and this global warming has really impacted so much on agriculture and other activities in our country. Some places in our country are now experiencing drought, and this drought has never been to those places, because initially, before those places were exploited and before those places were altered with, the climate of that place was very much favorable for agriculture and other activities in that place. So we want to encourage our fellow viewer to emulate or practice the planting of trees, so that we will ensure that the climate of our place has not been altered with. So our friend here, our great farmer and our great biology expert, Mr. Michael, will just take us through maybe on some simple steps on how one can grow some trees, and maybe he will empower others and also teach others on the things concerning agroforestry, afforestation, and wherever it is concerning growing of trees and also flowers. So Michael, please tell us now, how do we begin this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Subi. As I mentioned earlier, this one is the cheapest method of agriculture that you can always do, and if you take seriousness, as you can see, before even I mention anything, when I talk about the lower cost that we can start, the capital, you don't need much to start this one, because even if you can see here, I have a bag here. This one is a polythene bag, which is in black in color. This one is only one, goes for only 10 shillings. Just imagine if you have only 100 shillings, I can have 10 bags. Mm-hmm. You see that? So that is a very simple way. It does not need much. So you just need space, and you start with the one by one, then you go gradually. So let's put that aside. I'll just take you through very, very fast on how we carry out this one, because what we need here is just the soil, and we need some of the seeds. We need out there to nurture these things. So when I talk about the soil, before we place them to bag, we make sure that we look at the site. We look at the site of the collections. We check at the site where we are going to get these soils. Are we together? Because the place where you are going to get, especially the area that have been eroded and the soil have been collected somewhere there. Are we together? Because that one is a very fertile soil. So we make sure when we go to that place, at the site of collection, we take this soil, then we come and make sure that we filter them using a very agricultural filter here, and we make sure there are some of the samples that are always taken to the lab for testing to make sure that when I'm introducing my seedling, because we do a large plantation in this nursery bed. So before we do a nursery exploitation, we make sure that the samples that are taken to the lab, so that we make sure that is something that is there's some of the diseases, we call them the soil pathologists. The soil pathologists, they ensure that there's no diseases that are there in the soil that can infect my trees. As I mentioned earlier, after that, to make sure that you place them in the bags very well, as you can see here together. After doing that, we are now getting to get the next step together, where we are going to get the seedlings together from the nursery bed. Now bring them here. So then the seedling, we bring them into bags now. After placing them into bag, remember the seedlings cannot mature very fast due to direct sunlight. So here we take some in the nursery, in the what known as the greenhouse. And after making them there greenhouse, so that we minimize the temperature. As I mentioned earlier, we want to minimize the high rate of the sunlight destruction of these seedlings. So and after that, we are going to take them to outside the environment, where they are going to acclimatize and make sure they adapt to the natural environment, and they grow very fast. So that is the first step that we do, because it's a very simple step that I can even explain for you now. Then just keep on doing that one, because even the seedlings are not so much expensive. You can have a very small bag and can give even 300 or 400,000 seeds or seedlings together. So as you can see on my right hand side there, here now is the second phase, where they have come from the greenhouse, now have been brought to the field here for them now to acclimatize, to make sure when we are growing them, to make sure that the stem is strong together. Because if you bring them here with the weak stem, they can be easily infected with some of the stalk borer, or some of the diseases that bore holes on the stalks together. Then bore the hole, then that one can infect some of the diseases, some of the trees that we have here. So the one that we have here is known as the Lucina. So this is the local name called the Lucina trees that are growing very nice. And also we have some other species that have not placed in the region, because we know when we are doing this one is a form of what is known as a monoculture. Monoculture is where you grow one species in one area, so to minimize the disease transmission. So when you want to do very well, you make sure that you give them space, so that you don't make sure that the other species are being mixed, because we know according to the disease transmission, because we are trying to make sure that what we are being producing is to have more profits than losses. Are we together? Now, when we place this type of species, the other side, the other one, the other place, we make sure that we try to minimize the losses that you can get out of that places. So that's why you see we have only one species in this region. So this one is the perfect investment that we are doing here currently, and we are doing also to monitor them, because some of the flowers can, some of the insects also can cause the diseases. We make sure the diseases, and also we do spraying, because we do it in allergy. We do some of the spraying. Make sure we minimize them. So it is something, when you want to get something when you get some profit from anything that you are doing, you make sure you nurture it well together. So that is the best thing that we are doing here, and it's always a very, very simple step. It's only just about commitment that we need, and make sure that everything is considered. Yes. As you can see, when you look at the other side, those are the one now they have now in a very adult stage, and that one they were placed there and they were planted on the other side to monitor, to see how productive they are. Together. So that is the some parts of that we place there. Unless there are some of the question, I think I'll answer as I show you the view of what we are doing in this region. Because before, I think you mentioned also the flowers, and also the flowers the same. We have the flowers that we do what is known as there's some where you cut the adult or the already grown stem of the plant, then you place it somewhere there in the tubes. Then you water them very well, and you make sure the shoots erupt. So there are terms that we use for that. I think you know it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I can, as you have seen, my fellow viewer, this is a very beautiful view, and these trees, like you have seen, they don't require a lot of capital, like he has told you. and they also don't require maybe as a farmer you need to put a lot of consideration to them, because they just grow whenever they are being subjected into good conditions for their growth. So I want to encourage you, my fellow viewer, as you are watching this video, maybe you can learn something. You can train yourself even to grow and not rare, but let's say grow these seedlings of trees. And I believe you'll be helping us, and you'll be helping the world in changing the climate of the place. Not just climate, but a good climate whereby it is favorable for each and every one of us. So we will just proceed from where he has told us that there are some seedlings that maybe are in a nursery, and in those we will just get to see how they are behaving in that nursery. So we will just proceed. So like you have seen here right about now, we are entering into one of the greenhouse effect for the flowers. Remember, there are some reasons why we do this greenhouse effect to some plants, and our agricultural specialist will just explain to us maybe why are we doing this to the plant. So tell us now.
Okay, as you can see here, we majorly on the flowers that because flowers are very vital to most of the diseases, and also they are very susceptible to too much sunlight before they reach the maturity age. So what we do here, we do what known as the vegetative growth, right, together. So we take the part of the plant that have grown very well. If we have, then we come and place in some of the tubes here. After doing that, we are going to make sure we monitor it and make sure we add some of the organic fertilizer. Here we use organic fertilizer because remember I said earlier that in organic fertilizer have some of the demerits, or we known as the disadvantages, because of the most of the chemicals which can disadvantage one or the other. So here we measure only on organic fertilizer. So as you can see, so after setting up this one, so remember we are in a sample like a greenhouse here. So the major reason here, you remember when the rain is raining, so we try to minimize the intensity of water entering to each tube. Because if it was in an open field, remember it can go to what known as the splash erosion. Because when the intensity very high, the soil is splashed, and also if in case one flower has a disease and water flash at a high intensity, it will spread to the others together. So remember when the water drops there, the speed will be lowered and it will go to a specific flower, so that in case of even emergence of a smaller disease that can affect the flowers, that one is minimized. So the main reason we are trying to minimize the sunlight and also to control the water that is entering here. At the same time, we are going to control some of the maybe birds that can enter together. At the same time, we are going to control what known as the what I can recall as I think I've mentioned the birds, I've mentioned the insects, the insects also. We are going to control them. And that is the major thing that we are doing here. We see here what known as the torgas. And here also we have some of the flowers that we undertake. There's a certain greenhouse there. We use what known as the tissue culture. Together. That one is very, so that one, the one that we have brought from the tissue culture, that's the one that have been genetically modified flowers or plants. So they undergo some of the genetic cleaning, make sure that they are free from diseases, and we compare them with the one that we have not undertaken through the tissue they were derived from the tissue culture processes. So those are the things that we are doing. So we carry out the tissue culture process because those flowers, they have more advantage and disadvantages. Unless you have some of the question, and maybe I'll give you brief advantages and some of the generally when we talk about the forest, we talk about the trees and generally the flowers, and some of the disadvantages and also some of the solutions that you can find out. Yes.
Wow. This is getting even much interesting. And I believe we have learned a lot from one of our great farmers here in Chuka University concerning how you can carry out the agroforestry, all of those processes that is concerning forestry. of a place. Remember, these flowers that he has talked about, they help in beautifying the place where you are. You can imagine having these flowers around your place and the serenity of the environment. How will it be? How beautiful is it how beautiful that environment is going to be whenever you grow such kind of flowers in your place. So I don't think I have a lot to ask, but he has really talked a lot. He has really explained a lot concerning what one requires when he or she is growing some of these plants. Like he has elaborated to us the impact of heavy rainfall to such young plants. Remember, they are very delicate. Whenever heavy rains get in contact with them, they might distort their leaves, and they might transmit some diseases to other plants that are within this greenhouse. So the importance of this greenhouse, he has really elaborated with us its importance and what are some of its beneficial factors to this renewal. So he has also talked about some tissue culture that he is carrying out in some of these plants, and I believe you will be much privileged to get to see these things. And maybe if you are in a position to plant or to raise such seedlings, then it will be of beneficial to us, and also it will be of beneficial to the rest parts of the country. Remember, right now, like I have told you, and I am repeating it again, right now we are undergoing some climatic change, and which is causing some global warming to the country. So I want to encourage you, my fellow viewer, my fellow beloved Kenyan, or any other person in this continent, that it is important if you practice the rearing, the growing of trees, because you will be helping us in fighting the climatic change of a place. So maybe you just give us your final remarks concerning this issue of agriculture as we will be finalizing our report for today.
So as I mentioned earlier, agriculture is the backbone of everything. So what I can encourage our people, our Kenyan people, and almost the viewers that are seeing us, those that are interested in this thing, can you start with the small capital? Because for example, agroforestry, floriculture, they does not need a large capital. Then you grow. You start with the smaller capital, then you grow slowly, just by commitment. And what is so much basic here, you make sure you minimize the diseases that can bring losses, and also you make sure that you at least you get a little benefit from what you are doing. So, and before you do that, to make sure, even if you are not aware, you can look for the specialized who are so much specialized on things, and to give you some of the guidelines and make sure everything is okay. Because we have more advantage if you start mentioning here some of the things, we will not end this conversation today. So I think that is all I have for today, and make sure you enjoy everything you enjoy the nature, and let's make the beauty, let's make the nature, let's make our environment beautiful as you may want it to be. So everything starts from you. So plant 1 tree today, tomorrow plant 2, the following day plant 3, and by the end of 3 or 10 centuries, we will have a big number of the plantations in this country. I wish you all the best, and as I can remind you, is Michael Ndolo, a biology specialized, also specializing in agricultural factor. See me anywhere, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on Subiboy TV, so that we can teach Kenyans on much about agriculture and more other things. Thank you very much, Mr. Subi, for your time, and I think next time we'll share more, and I think more will be educated to Kenyans.
Wow. Finally. Don't forget to click the subscription button on your screen, and don't forget to share this video widely, because we are teaching people not just on agriculture, but there are also some other things that we want to teach our fellow Kenyan people concerning what it is within us as human beings. So thank you so much, and I want to thank you, Ndolo, because you have really taught us a lot concerning the sector of agriculture. Don't forget to plant 1 tree, plant 1, and you will help us in changing the climate of a place. This is none other than Peter Subi, aka Ramsey, the one and only.